students, how's everybody? I wish that you are all enjoying your time. And this is about the statistics. We'll work on the statistics today. And we had some examples that we will go through. And I will start with sharing the screen now. I'm going forward into what we need to know about the main resources of statistics. I found it is very important for you guys to talk about what do we mean by the hypothesis. And so the hypothesis testing can be thought of a court case. Like you have as example, there are juries who would see the person is guilty or unguilty. So it's like a claim. That's what we are doing. A group is saying something, and the other group is saying something which is contradicted, like the opposite of this idea or the opposite of what they are talking about. Usually we have two things that we always put on two figures, that is the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. Okay, you are telling me that this pen is writing 3 kilometers. If you write it, write 3 kilometers. Okay, this is the null hypothesis. But the alternate hypothesis, I will see if it write 3 kilometers, this pen, write 3 kilometers or write less or more than what you are saying. This is what we mean by the hypothesis. So we have also always hypothesis 0 and we have hypothesis 1. And we like how to formulate both of them. That's what I will talk about just now when I come to do an example. We have 5 steps for the hypothetical test that are state 1, state the hypothesis and identify the claim. What is it about? Like we said, that we have 2 groups of contradiction ideas. One of these ideas is saying something, and the other ideas is the opponent. They are saying another idea. So how we will come true? How we will test this hypothesis? Find a critical value from the appropriate table. This is the second point. Because we will find out, we'll check now and see how we will look for Z tabulated and Z calculated, and we have to compare between them. And the steps are right on the board. That will be more clear for you guys, so it will be easier for you. Compute the test value. What is the mean or the test which we will use? Because we have many tests. We have over 15 or 20 tests, from 15 to 20 tests. Which one of them we will use? Is it parametric test or non-parametric test? How we will use this test? What are the conditions to apply this specific kind of test? These are all what we'll come to know. Make the decision to reject or not reject the null hypothesis, because always I focus on the null. I focus on the null usually. So I will accept the null or I will reject the null hypothesis, like what we will see right now. Summarize the results. You mean you write your report or your final decision. How will be your decision like here? How the decision will be? What you will act here in such a situation? Let me see an example here. In 1970s, 20 to 29 years old men in the United States had a mean U body weight of 77. Okay. Standard deviation sigma was 19 kilograms. That's fine. We test whether mean body weight in the population now differs. Okay. Now it means what? Now differs. As long as I said now differs, let me put it here. Let me put it here on the example, and I will stop sharing the screen, and I will be on the board here and just do this example so that it will be clear for everyone of my dear students how we work on the hypothesis null and how we will work on hypothesis 1. Okay, let's see. So let's see, the example is giving me this information. What is the information do I have here? I have the following info. I have that first thing is I have that the hypothesis null, we have hypothesis null, and we have hypothesis one. Okay. Okay. Let's see it now, how it works. It's saying in the population in the United States in 1970 years old, men in the United States, he said men in the United States, he didn't say like this, look at, watch the example again. Men in the United States had a mean U body weight. Okay, so this is, we call it the population because we are working on two things. We have population, and we have sample, So we have population and we have sample. We have both population and sample. Population and we have sample. Okay. Usually we formulate the hypothesis null and hypothesis one from the population, not from the sample. So those are we will use to make H0 and H1. Those are what we will formulate H0 and H1 through. I'll stop sharing the screen. We'll stop sharing the screen now. And we are working on this. So that is how I'm working. I'm working on the population. I will work on H0 and H1. Okay, that's fine. Perfect. So now, how I will formulate H0 and H1? Should I have to open the pens because I have pens right now? Like I said just now, we have population and we have in the example sample. So I will formulate the H null and H1 from the population, not from the sample. Okay. And based on what he said in the example, okay, he said in the example, like what you see, my dears, he said, in the standard year old had a mean U body of 77. So always we use, not in all the cases, but most of the cases we use that H0, that mu, and we can write mu like this, mu equals the average of the society. The average of the society of the population is 77, the average of the society. And now he said, came a guy to see, to check if this is right or wrong. And he took a sample. He took a sample from the people. And he wanted to check, is it as different or not? So different or not is having to say because of the word, because he said it differ or it didn't differ. Okay, if he said this is because he said it is different or not, or not, that's why we put it like this. But if he said if the sample greater than, then in that case, if he said that the sample is greater than, then hypothesis one will be like this. Hypothesis one will be like this. Mu is greater than 77. Or if he said that it is less than, the sample is less than, in that case, it will, H1 will formulate it like this. Mu will be less than 77. So you check out and see in the example which you have and what the exercise in between your hands, what are the words? Is it, see, check it if different or not, then H1 mu will unequal as it, because it's different, so unequal. But he didn't say greater or less than, he didn't say greater or less than. If it is mu sample is greater than, then mu is greater than 77. If it is so, based on what he said in his example. In this example, he said it is different or not different. Different means I will use unequal. Okay, what are the reasons or what are the things which will make me here, or how I will work on this when we go for the sample test, when we use that to get the T or Z tabulated, we will look in the tables. We have to check out what kind of tables we will work on. We will work in one tail table or two tails table. So what is the difference? Usually we work on one tail table. We work on one tail table if it is less or greater. Then here we will work on one tail table. Here this is one tail table. But here it is two tail table. So it is based on what you are serving. If you are working on non-equal, this is two tails table. If it is greater or less, then this is one tail table. And I will show you how the differ between the one tail table and the two tails tables right now. I will show you the difference between both of them right now. Okay. 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 The one side table, usually, this side, one side table, this one, the one side table on those two examples, it looks like that way. You will check the right part or you will check the left part. This we call it the critical area. This area we call it the critical area, like it will be shown now in the examples. So you are checking which part you will check if it is one tail. But if it is two tails, this one, two tails here, this one, two tails. In that case, I will check both the sides. Here it is, I will draw it here, okay? Two tails means I will check both the sides. And I will show it when I'm working right away. Okay, here we go. Let me share the screen. And let me pause recording for 1 second. Okay, I don't have this option here, so I will have to complete, no problem. So that's what we will do now. Like I told you here in front of you, I'm using based on what is in the example. He said, we test whether the body weight in the population now differs. The word differs mean mu non-equal. So non-equal means two sides. Mu non, because of the word differ, like you see in front of you here, because of the word differ. Okay, okay. So again, because this part is very important, I will repeat back what I said here. To make my hypothetical tests, the first point is, usually when I start the example, I am taking the mu from the population, not from the sample. So in this example, as he said, that the mu of the weight in the United States was 77 kilograms, then this is hypothesis 0 will mu equals 77. This is the average of population. Look at this, average of population, not sample. So this is the average of the population, not sample. How about H1? H1, we have to stop and see. Mu, we have three things, greater than or less than or unequal. That is depends on the 77. Depends on what he mentioned. Depend on what he mentioned in the question. So here he mentioned in this question, that the average is not different. Is not different means it will be unequal. Okay, so greater than or less than based on the words or is not equal. So here I will put it unequal. And I will stop the screen back and show what I am doing on the board. What I'm doing in the board. H0 mu will equal the average of the population, not the sample. The average of the population, not the sample. And H1, it depends on what he mentioned in the question. In question. If he said greater than, then this will be the sign. If he said less than, then this will be the sign. If he said no different or not equal, then we'll use this sign. Okay, depends on that case, greater or less, I will use one tail test. One tail test means I will check one part only for the critical reasoning. This is one tail test, and this is another one tail test. It depends on where greater or less, and I will show you right now. But no different, it is two tail tests. So this is greater or less here, greater or less here, and here two tail test. It will be like this. I will check for the two parts or two tail test if I said unequal, but greater or less, I check for only one part. And like we said before, this is normal distribution curve. So it's like the area is the same. It doesn't matter it is on the positive or negative, because you compare a number with a number, but no problem about the sign. If it is positive or negative, it doesn't make any effect in hypothetical tests. For the third time, I'm saying, usually we make the mu or the average of the population, not the sample. So I will formulate my hypothesis null based on what I have in the question. He said that the average of the population or the average of the weights for the Americans, he's talking about all the Americans. He didn't talk about sample. He talked about all the Americans. Then 77 kilograms, then this we will formulate the hypothesis null or zero. Mu will equal 77, which is the average weight in the population, not in the sample. Okay, H1, we will check. Depend on what he said. If he said is greater than, then it will be the sign. If he said it's less than, it will be the sign. When he say it's makes no different or whatever, it's unequal or different, then in that case we will make it unequal. For checking for greater and less than, this we call it one tail test, like this one. Here, greater and then and greater and less than, we call it one tail test. But for the unequal, we call it two-tail test, like this one, two-tail test. And I will show you now how this differ when you look in the T tabulation or Z tabulation. Okay, thank you so much. Stop here.